if that's kind of like, if you want to learn more about how your body interacts with a bike, then maybe a aggregated data approach to bike fit isn't the way to go. And like, you have to be kind of at peace with the decisions that you make, right?
Because you can't have a system that's saying, hey, you know what you should do? You should leave this shop, you should go down the road to another shop and buy a bike from them because they've got the one that you
People
need.
don't think of this stuff though.
Yeah, I think this is what's kind of lost from a lot of systems, that there is no real relationship, and it muddies the idea of what kind of bike riding is, in that it boils it down to just an event. It's just this thing that happens. It is a system rather than actually a practice of figuring out how your body functions best on this bicycle.
Welcome to the Soft Issues podcast, brought to you by Foundation Bike Fit and Frequency Cycle Works, where we help you take your cycling to the next level by sharing the knowledge from experienced bike fitters, mechanics, and the hidden players within the bike industry.
All right, lads, welcome back.
Hello.
Hello. And Matt's being silent. I think he's
Playing with his phone.
He's trying to get some Wi-Fi on the go.
Trying to get some Wi-Fi. You're in the black hole corner.
In the worst position in this room for Wi-Fi. But that's all right.
I thought you were just getting nervous about your training camp.
Nah.
No? No?
He's
Putting on a brave face.
The body remembers.
Famous
That's
last words.
what I'm hoping anyway.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I think the last time I rode a drop bar bike outdoors, it's been at least 6 months.
It's going to feel really narrow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially because I've got like 800mm bars on my mountain bike.
You're going to feel like you're riding those new little pointless little aero
290.
290mm reach, or whatever it is width.
I was quite impressed with your turbo session, though. You managed to do a turbo for an hour without moving.
Done 80 minutes without moving.
80 minutes, there you go. Rock solid on the
Solid as a rock, mate. The body remembers.
Were you running on Waze Swift account as well?
No, this was just this was Son's technology. Just staring at the wall.
What's the
callous
point
in
then?
mind.
When you know you've done anything, it's not recorded on the internet.
I don't go for any of that.
Callousing the mind.
Callousing the mind.
Yeah.
There you go.
Stay hard.
Stay hard.
You've been watching Gladiators, haven't you?
Well, I watched Andrew Huberman with David Goggins.
Oh, well, that would be a good one.
It's quite a good one. It's really funny watching a neuroscientist tell David Goggins why he is like he is.
Oh, did they go into that?
Yeah.
My goodness.
So yeah, I won't go into it, but yeah, the part of the brain which basically they talk about motivation and willpower and how one builds willpower and
stubbornness.
Yeah, it's just like the ability to do hard things, and it's quite interesting. There's a 13-minute clip of the good stuff on YouTube. If you're
send me that. I'm interested.
Yeah.
My next door neighbour, my mate, is a neuroscientist.
Okay.
Be interesting to send him that and see what he thinks.
Yeah, it was quite interesting.
I mean, I know how to build willpower. I wait until at least April, where the days are longer and there's light in the morning, and it's warm.
And the willpower suddenly appears.
And suddenly it's like, oh, I might go ride my bike.
I rode my bike in today because it was.
I know, couldn't believe it. I saw you walking.
We heard a freewheel coming down the hall. We thought, oh, someone's nicked a bike.
Yeah. Speaking of neuroscience, today, what are we going to talk about?
Artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Sorry.
And maybe a little bit of Doctor Who. By the sounds of it.
Well, technically, like the first AI most of us probably ever saw on telly were the Daleks.
Yeah, it's true.
And they were fairly intelligent till they got to a flight of stairs.
But that leads to the point, doesn't it? How intelligent is artificial intelligence?
I got my own opinions on this, but I think I'll leave them for another podcast because I don't believe anything that people call AI is actually AI. It's just a marketing
not yet.
Gimmick.
Not
anywhere near.
But the reason this is interesting is that a very popular cycling media outlet recently did a feature.
Is there a popular cycling media outlet?
One of the most popular cycling media outlets did a piece on AI in the context of bike fitting.
They did,
Didn't they, Way?
Yes, they did. In fact, I thought it was a great video. Their hearts were in the right place, shall we say?
That's like saying, like, to a sports person, "Oh, he plays with a lot of heart."
You don't win every time, but like, you know, they were trying. The message was good.
Can't all be bangers.
You know, the message was, you know, the main mistake that 99% of cyclists make before buying a bike or when they buy a high-end bike, and that is that people don't get a bike fit, and they just splurge £10,000 on a bike without knowing if it actually fits or not.
And kudos where it's due, banging that drum.
Absolutely. And
That's good.
That drum absolutely needs to be banged, because we want to help people to make good decisions about their bike buying decisions. But there's always a but.
Big but.
Yeah. They went about their bike fit by showcasing an AI bike fitting jig or system by Sella Italia. I think it's called ID Match.
Yeah.
Which they roll out across kind of all their saddle ranges and all these different ways of determining what would be a good saddle for you, etc., etc. And now they've rolled it out into their bike fitting system. And the main selling point of it is that it's AI powered. And this supposedly creates a good bike fit.
The perfect bike fit.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to give them
You're
a bit
gonna
of
go good.
slack
You're
and
gonna slack.
just say good. Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
So the question is, can AI actually create a good bike fit? What is a good bike fit? What is an AI system? You know, what are the pros and the cons? What do we want to know about it? Where are the limitations? And where should we be using this kind of technology, if at all, to determine our bike fitting? So that's what we're going to get into today. And hopefully by the end of the discussion, hopefully it'll be a discussion rather than just the usual ranting. But, you know,
We've got a whiteboard now,
promise
so
there will
let's
be,
see. Let's see.
We've got bullet points.
We're so keen about this.
We are
that we've already
we've had a meeting about this already.
Put some bullet points down, and I think we're going to come up with some answers and see if everyone agrees with us or not.
Keep our cynicisms aside for the next 3 minutes.
So I think first thing I'm going to put out there is this is not new.
No.
What, AI is not new?
AI in bike fitting is not new.
What do you mean by that?
A systemized process based on aggregated data in bike fitting is not new. Right. This has been around almost 15 years.
This was the dream, wasn't it? The bike fit dream.
It was. And it suddenly, quite quickly, turned into a nightmare.
But some people
just like the film
persist. Yeah. So just to give people a little bit more context about this new bike fit system from Sella Italia, it is a system that will sit you on a jig, an adjustable bike. It will scan you and film you via cameras, live cameras, and it will automatically move parts of the bike wirelessly without an operator whilst you're pedaling in order to create a bike fit for you. And it will use aggregated data from the thousands of fits that it has done.
17,000.
17,000,
apparently.
Apparently. And counting.
Yeah.
But only 13,000 riders.
Yeah, that was a
So
bit
some of those riders have had
Anyway, the main point is that it's done thousands of fits.
As we know, Ev, bike fit is not once and done.
Is it not?
So you can get fit more than once.
Okay.
Anyway, we digress.
Another myth for another time.
Exactly.
It's not a myth, but yeah, we can talk about it another
Facts,
time.
mate, facts.
But yeah, this system aggregates all the data from all the bike fits it's done around the world and uses that to create a good bike fit for this particular rider in front of it. And yeah, it does it all without an operator. I can see faces already. Kind of.
As like a piece of theatre and an event, it is quite cool, right? And if you haven't watched the video that the popular cycling media outlet, GCN, go watch GCN's video because it is quite cool. And
but watch it at 2 times
and
speed.
2 times the speed, it's even better. But like as a process, like what I was saying, it's like there is a process to it. It will kind of scan your body. It will ask you to do some movements, like hip hinge, forward fold. It asks you to kind of do all these little things whereby it kind of gets to know you in inverted commas, so it can give you an ideal cleat position. It can see how flexible you might be or not. All this kind of stuff. So it is kind of building, I'm giving it a bit of a chance here. It is kind of building up a picture of what you are as a rider. You can select your discipline, kind of what kind of position you want within that kind of discipline, all that kind of stuff. It can even scan an existing bike and replicate that onto its rig in real time, which is pretty cool. As a piece of tech, it is pretty cool. But the big question is, can you achieve a good bike fit doing this?
And what systems have we seen in the past that have also used a similar kind of concept?
Yeah. So I guess the most famous one that most people know would be Retool, right?
Yeah.
So when Retool's 2011 came out?
A little bit before.
Maybe a little bit before, 2009, something like that. Yeah. Basically, the premise behind Retool was that it would capture data from all the fits that we done using this system to create a guideline or a set of normative ranges in which, if you land within all of these normative ranges, it will give you a good bike position. That's the basic premise.
And the idea of capturing lots and lots and lots of data points would mean that it would improve the system. Like more is better. And
so the system almost learns as it does more fits, right?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah.
That more fits means better fits. I don't know, I guess that's, is it a question of numbers? Yeah. So that's the question. And Sella Italia have adopted a similar kind of methodology of capturing lots and lots of data, and that should mean a better bike fit. Before we get into a little bit more of the detail of how this could be a good bike fit or not, it's probably important to note why these two systems have also been developed. And both of those two systems have been developed not primarily as bike fit tools. They're not primarily sold to bike fitters, I would say. They're actually both sold to bike shops, and both were designed as tools to enable bike shops to do bike fitting, not necessarily as an useful tool for bike fitters, though it can be a useful tool for bike fitters if they want to use it. It does provide useful information, but the premise behind both of them was that it was to be installed in bike shops, and the main goal of bike shops is to sell bikes. So they were both designed as tools to sell bikes primarily. And the Sella Italia system's pretty cool because it can do your bike fit in probably like half an hour, like just by moving stuff around. The computer just does everything, spits out some numbers, and boom, done. And then the other really important part of the Sella Italia system is that it has a database of every single bike supposedly on the market, which can then marry up to its fit data, and it will give you, 10 different options for the bikes that you want to buy.
Or at least what's in stock.
Yeah, maybe. And I think, it will kind of give you kind of choices from like Canyon or Factor, Specialized or whatever, blah, 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 blah. But the primary function of these systems is to sell you a bike. It does not necessarily mean that it has your best interests at heart. It just has this method of selling you a bike, and maybe you are convinced that that is the right bike for you because you've gone through this kind of process.
It's backed by data.
Backed by data.
So it's not really a bike fitting tool.
It's a bike
such.
sizing
It's a bike
tool.
sizing tool, right?
Yeah. Which is, the priorities are slightly different.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important distinction to make when trying to figure out, should I go for a bike fit and choosing one because they have this tool, which is there, and it's really jazzy and funky, and I love the theatre of it and all, but does it actually create the right kind of position for you and your riding goals? Does it get you to where you want to be? That is the main kind of question. So, where do we go from here?
So from a bike fitter's perspective, is it useful to the point where do you guys think that it means that customers will buy at least the correct size bike for them before they end up in front of you, so that they don't turn up with a bike that's completely the wrong size?
Well, I'm going to go in with the blunt answer first, and then Way will probably come out with something a little bit more diplomatic and reasoned. If you've gone for an AI bike fit and you bought a bike based on those data points, and then you're coming to see us with that bike with an issue,
then it's
something's not right
something's
there,
not right.
isn't it? You know what I mean? So, it's like what's gone wrong in that process, and what's the step that's been missing in terms of the fit process that's gone on initially, where you've got that information to buy that bike. Where's the disconnect?
So you're talking about
because theoretically this should be perfect. And you had the best analogy for this that I'd come out with.
The self-checkout.
It's the self-checkout at the supermarket, isn't it? It's great when it works, but when it doesn't, you need an operator.
Yeah. You got to put your hand up.
Yeah.
Like a kid in a classroom wanting to go pee.
Exactly.
And then somebody comes along, waves a magic wand, fixes it all for you.
And then you can be on your way.
So you guys are the dude at the checkout with the
key fob code. Yeah. But that's the thing.
It's like, I can see you've got,
But this is where it falls down. So, if the system doesn't work as it should, and you need an operator, because the whole premise of this is that you just press a button and it does it, off you go. If that process falls down, and you need an operator to then step in, then you are at the mercy of that operator. And not being funny, if this is someone in a bike shop who doesn't have an appreciation for bike fit, and I've been that idiot before, you're basing a £10,000 bike purchase on guesswork. So is it a fully watertight, robust system? Absolutely not. So that's the cynical view.
What's the thing? Again, it's a tool to do a job,
but the tool is only as good as its operator.
Exactly,
as you know.
So you can have the best tools in the world if you don't know what you're doing.
Useless.
You're still useless.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to think about it almost a little bit differently, in that we need to change people's perception of what this tool will do. You mentioned the word perfect, and I think that's what these kind of systems kind of elicit, or that is the dream.
That's the dream they're selling, right?
The
The
dream that you're
perfect fit.
selling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like perfection, it is right, it is the one thing, it is the magic bullet, it is the answer. But actually, the entire concept of a system is that it is not perfect at all. Like the system, or the whole concept of aggregating like data to spit out an average of that data. You're always looking for, that using that data to create the mean, the average of that. And from that average, you can say that, well, this is what a rider should kind of look like, because we've kind of pulled all this data and this is what's in the middle. But as we all know, humans are, hugely variable. There is no human who is alike. And so if you're trying to pigeonhole like a human being into an average, then it's never really going to be perfect, is it? It might be close, because you might be close to an average human being, but it's never going to be individualized. It's never going to be just for you. It's never going to be quite right, because there is so much more to individualization than just a few kind of data points that they've kind of captured here and there. Maybe one day, if they can capture like kind of enough data points about it, about a human being, you might be able to kind of go through a process where you could find a really good bike fit, but I just don't think there's enough at the moment. And this has been proven over and over again whenever any like kind of system is implemented where the average is kind of implemented, and people just aren't like average. Like if you looked within a data set of people and you compared that to the average of that kind of data set, there's a very small chance that there'll be one person within that data set who is exactly the same as average. And so average doesn't actually exist. It's just, a concept.
It's just for the purposes of statistics.
So there's almost no way that like an AI or a kind of systemized way of kind of bike fitting will actually get to that kind of perfect bike fit, as it were. You're always going to get close, maybe. You're going to get average, and maybe that's enough for some people. But if you're going to spend 10 grand plus on a bike, do you want average? Do you want, it's good enough?
I mean, in any other industry, if you're spending that kind of money, you are talking to a human being to make those decisions. You're not pressing buttons on a computer where it's giving you as limited a choice as possible in order to force you into pigeonhole and to force you into boxes, which is all a system like that can do, because there's only so much it can understand about feedback, right? And isn't that the main difference between what people call AI or any kind of computer system, any kind of software, and a human being who can ask you questions like, how does that feel?
But that's the whole thing, isn't it? It's like the computer is making assumptions based on the information it's getting by its own means. Yeah. It's not taking feedback.
It's a multiple choice.
It's a one-way.
Yeah. That's the thing, but it's the equivalent of a multiple choice exam as opposed to an essay-based exam.
Yeah, and you're trying to answer a question where the answer you want to give doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's a very good point. So, the system assumes that more bike fits, and the more bike fits it does equals a better bike fit. But that assumes that the bike fits that it's doing is already a good bike fit, and therefore it should replicate it. or get close to what that is. What happens if it's doing really bad bike fits and then just aggregating loads and loads of bad bike fits together and just producing even more bad bike fits? Like how does it actually learn in that way?
It's like the printing press that is out of alignment, and it just unless somebody goes, this isn't this is unreadable. You can't and it just keeps going. And it's like,
My mind went to the supercomputer in Team America.
My mind went to Big Bertha.
Bad intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like if you are, even if it's like genuine human beings, if you have a crowd of 1,000 people in front of you and you shout out a question, they're all going to give you varying answers, but you're not going to be able to make head nor tails of it because there's 1,000 people talking at the same time. It doesn't. You have to start pushing into individuals, and
it's too much noise.
It's too much noise, and that's the thing. It's like the whole idea is that an AI system or an algorithm or any kind of software can compile information, compile data and take averages. But that's not how human beings work. That's not how the mind works. That's not how the body works. Everything's so individualized that you need somebody to actually take a minute to kind of appreciate how somebody is reacting to.
I think if you understand its limitations and you kind of take it for what it is,
with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, basically.
Well, that's going back to the same old, like, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool, and nobody should be relying purely on it. It's a guide. So, there's only so many bikes out there. There's only so many bike sizes and bike shapes and bikes. And the thing is, this is where there's the drawback, because obviously if these are systems, like we say, they're not bike fitting systems per se, they're bike sizing systems. And they're designed to go into bike shops, but bike shops don't have every bike under the sun in their stockroom.
You'd be gutted, wouldn't you, if it recommended all the bikes that you didn't stock.
Yeah. Right? So that's what happens when you have systems like that, where you have to then go in and tailor that system.
It's rigged.
Because it's rigged.
Let's call a spade a spade. It's
right?
rigged.
It's a rigged system, because if you're a bike shop and Sell Italia rep comes along and goes, hey, we've got this great... I'm not going to do the Italian accent. We've got this great bike sizing system. Let's put it in your store. And then you're going to say, okay, by the way, it's the test. We've done this test, and it's recommended us a whole load of bikes that we don't sell. So first of all, let's go into the system and limit it to only the brands that we sell.
This is assuming that you can go into the system and limit it.
Well, why would you have it in your shop if you can't go into the system and limit it? Because you can't have a system that's saying, hey, you know what you should do? You should leave this shop. You should go down the road to another shop and buy a bike from them, because they've got the one that you
People don't
need.
think of this stuff, though. But yeah, it's true. Like,
that's, again...
So it's flawed.
It's totally flawed.
Even as a sales tool.
As a sales tool,
it's flawed.
Utterly flawed, because the whole selling point of it is aggregating all this data from all around the world, from thousands and thousands of fits for thousands of different bikes. And you're sitting in your bike shop thinking, but I only sell...
I don't stock any of them.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a manual mode on it, so you can kind of move stuff around.
Yeah, so we are being slightly facetious in the fact that it is a tool that can be operated, much like a self-checkout thing at the supermarket by a human.
But then there's the point, it requires an operator.
Yeah.
So AI requires an operator.
Of course, yeah.
It's not as...
as you and I found out in the supermarket the other day, that, it's only as good as the scales.
Yeah.
And if you find something that happens to be the same weight as the item that you are supposedly buying...
Carrots, far cheaper than beer.
Far cheaper than a bottle of Bollinger.
Exactly. Yeah, staff discount. I'm scanning my own stuff.
Yeah. My goodness, yeah, we did do a little bit of a jiggery-pokery to get it to the right weight, didn't we?
It's like dropping keys on it after a while. It's like, come on.
Unexpected item in the bagging area. Unexpected item in the bike fit area.
Yeah.
Imagine, I'm just going to take this SL8.
But I
like,
feel
you've got to
Yeah, I feel like we're in the kind of teenage, maybe adolescent phase of like the AI world, where AI still needs an operator. It needs a guardian to kind of make sure that it doesn't go AWOL.
You know, the Doctor Who Dalek analogy is not that far off. It's like, yeah, it's got its place, but it can't do stairs, right? So it needs a leg up when it comes to the. Oh, did you see that Doctor Who movie that they made with what was his name from With Nail and I? That was ages
Rick
ago.
Mail?
Not Rick Mail. With Nail and I.
Is that Rick Mail?
No.
No, it's
Oh no, that's
Richard E.
Foster.
Grant.
Richard E. Grant and one of the brothers, and I can't remember. He's the best one.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the rude stuff.
But they had, that was when the Dalek, they had the scene where the Dalek got to the bottom of the stairs, and then suddenly it just glows and it just starts floating up the stairs. And you're like, no, my childhood nightmare, no.
AI learn. Other wild thing about that video that the popular cycling media outlet recently produced, there were no hoods
Oh, yeah.
on the fitting rig.
That makes no sense at all.
So I don't know
Unless
if they
you're
were fitting for a track bike.
bikes only and nothing else.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit of an oversight. Probably want to put hoods on it.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
also
you
hoods of
can. It
different-
had a regular bar. You can do it.
Oh, so you can, but it didn't have it on.
But yeah,
Don't know why they didn't.
Just
Also,
don't think of
the
this.
only saddles they had were Italia saddles.
Well, of course.
of course.
So, see, that goes back to what I was talking about with having to limit it to, certain brands of bikes and stuff like that. Or, it's their system. They sell saddles. That's their main bread and butter. So they're obviously going to design their system and say, well,
The cleat tool looked wild.
Mm.
Where's taking a deep breath?
Yeah.
What
It
did
had
you think?
lasers though.
Do you like lasers?
Everyone loves lasers, don't they?
Unless they're being fired at them.
From sharks.
Sure, yeah.
Sharks with lasers on their heads.
Is that what happened?
Set your cleats up. Use a shark with a laser.
How's a shark going to operate an Allen key?
It's an AI shark.
Fins. Yeah, it is. It can be the smartest shark in the world.
It's an AI shark that's growing thumbs.
It does. It does. This is the floating Daleks all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, so apart from the actual concept of AI bike fitting being a little bit kind of limited, then the actual equipment they use was pretty limited too. But, all that stuff is kind of easy to rectify if you have a good operator. And it would be quite an interesting tool to try and use if it was operator kind of friendly.
Do we know of one in the UK?
Yeah, there's one out in Norwich.
Oh, okay.
What the ID match one?
Vera's factor.
Yeah, factor.
How to use it. So, yeah, maybe we should take a visit over there. Go check it out.
Probably listening to this, they won't let us.
In the
They're on the phone to Canyon. Have you heard this podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah. Telling it how it is.
So, what is how much do you know about these various systems, and how many bike fitters are actually involved in? Because if it's just one,
well,
I
AI
find
bike
this-
fits everywhere, really, isn't it? Like, think about it. Like, Retool, essentially AI bike fit, using aggregated data. What's that app called that you can download?
Like My Velo Fit.
My Velo Fit, AI.
Yeah, it does the same thing. It kind of analyzes you through your phone and then gives you suggestions as to what you should adjust.
does it rely on your phone being placed in a particular position?
Oh yeah.
So that it says, okay, you have to use a ruler and.
Well, it's the same with Retool. It relies on the operator placing the markers in the right place on the body. If you get that wrong, even by a little bit,
And that's quite easy to get wrong.
yeah.
Isn't it?
That's the thing. If you're trying to fit using Retool in the height of summer in the UK,
And they
then
just slide
markers
around.
just fall off. You spend most of the fit replacing markers.
Didn't think of that.
Yeah.
But there's so many systems out there that use the same kind of idea or concept of using markers to create body shapes and angles and avatars in order to recreate kind of reality or better understand reality. there's the STT systems and for logic fit, and there's loads of them, just loads of them. all out
Guru.
there.
It's the only analogy. Oh, I mean, I can make several analogies, obviously, but one of the related to bikes is like wheel building. It's like there's loads of tools. There's loads of things to help, like, and there are machines that build
machines
wheels.
build
and stuff
wheels,
like
don't
that.
they?
Yeah, but they build shit wheels. Oh, sorry. They don't build very good wheels because
But they build a wheel.
They build a wheel.
Same concept.
Yeah,
isn't
exactly.
It comes out looking wheel shaped.
It's kind of round.
Yeah.
Kind of, but it's just without the feedback.
Yeah.
That you get when you actually like know what you're doing in your experience, it's just not good enough. So it's like it'll get you in the ballpark, but like you say, without an operator that knows what they're doing, that has experience, it's you're only halfway there.
But that's also an interesting thing about, you can build a wheel very specifically for that a person and a rider. We do the same thing when we bike fit, but that feedback is super important, because actually we don't really know what is going to happen out in the real world until someone goes out and rides their bike and spends some time, and their body has some time to adapt and to absorb the new position. And then you've got to see, does that body like it? Does it not?
Yeah.
What could be better? Maybe another issue comes out that we weren't aware of from the initial fit, because it was being masked by a greater problem in that. And the same could be true for, I assume, with your wheels. If someone goes out and goes, "Oh, yeah, this wheel is way too stiff," then you could actually adjust it.
You'd have to build a different wheel.
Yeah, build a different wheel.
Don't listen to anyone who tells you they can put different tension in spokes.
Oh, there you go.
Can't do that.
Yeah, but
You could try.
but you can, undo all the spokes, take it out.
Oh, you just say, okay, you've got too many spokes, or whatever. You need fewer, or you need a shallower rim or something. You need just like to something to create more compliance. It's the same. There are things that you change in order to accommodate, but you have to have that feedback. You have to have that feedback, or you have to have the experience yourself of doing that to understand. Like, as bike fitters, you too spend a lot of time listening to your bodies. Probably.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
you want to know what different changes feel like, so that you've got a vague idea of what a customer is going to be feeling when you make a change. So that experience is telling you, okay, I'm going to ask them the question, how does this feel?
Yeah.
You've got an idea. You can lead them a little bit to the point where, the answer should be, that doesn't feel very nice, because you've just, wound their saddle down like way too low or something like that. You're looking for them to start to understand where the limitations are, or where the limits are at either end of the scale, so that you can go back to something in the middle that works for them, and they can understand, okay, that saddle position is way too high, that saddle position is way too low. Here we are in a range in the middle. Yeah. You're starting to learn about your body. You can only know the answers when you've reached the limits either side, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's our own data aggregation as bike fitters. Our data comes from our riding experience, like what we've been doing. And essentially we do the same thing as the AI bike fit system, in that we aggregate all the experience that we've had, all the thousands of riders that we've seen, and listened to their feedback on how their bike fits have gone, what was good, what was bad, under what circumstances, for what kind of riding style, for what goals. And then we feed that back into our own work.
Yeah.
But there's just so much more data within a human's experience that we can draw from, compared with, what these computer systems are doing right now. Because absolutely, we rely on feeling, we rely on like feedback
Yeah.
and response and a relationship with our customers. And yeah, I think this is what's kind of lost from a lot of systems, that there is no real relationship, and it kind of it muddies the idea of what kind of bike riding is,
Yeah.
in that it boils it down to just an event. It's just this thing that happens. It is a system rather than actually a practice of figuring out how your body functions best on this bicycle and how it changes and how it develops and adapts and so on. So, from a really conceptual kind of point of view, I just don't think AI bike fitting really fits with my concept of what bike riding is.
Yeah.
It's never just a one and done. It's not a thing, a package, a product. It's, bike riding is an event. It's, a thing. It's, I don't know, I can't think of any other better way of presenting it.
It's a skill to be mastered,
Yeah.
knowing that you will never achieve mastery, isn't it? It's like learning a musical instrument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you can go through the process throughout, a lifetime if you want to, about trying to get better at this thing that is riding a bike, knowing that you will never achieve it. It's not like, oh yeah, bike riding, mate, completed it. It's not that kind of thing. It's like you wouldn't view like yoga or Pilates in the same way, would you? There's a reason they call it a practice, because you're just practicing to get better, and that's it. So it's not like there's no prescription to it. It's not you do this, you will get better. It's not linear. It's a case of figuring it out and making mistakes as you go along, and hopefully learning from those mistakes to, get better, whatever that looks like. Yeah, what does even get better mean?
Or figuring out what's important for you.
Yeah.
Like why should you end up in a particular bike position because someone just told you that that's the right kind of position? You have to be questioning yourself. What does this work for me? Does it get me to where I want to be? Do I want to just look like what I think bike riding should be?
Hit the nail on the head, didn't you? It comes back to fashion, doesn't it? Come back to fashion again. Like, how many people turn up and they're like, they've got their bike in a certain position because the bike looks good sitting there on its own with its stem slammed and its saddle through the roof. And they've been watching the pros and they've all their friends and they're comparing stuff, and it's like, I want to be more aero, I want to be low at the front, I want to be sleek.
I think it goes deeper than that.
Do you think it goes deeper?
I think it's a question of ownership and responsibility.
Explain.
I'm going to annoy some people here, but
Go ahead.
We live in a culture, and this is my take on this. We live in a culture where it's the hive mind, isn't it? It's the culture of the email hive mind, that you outsource something and it's done.
Yeah,
that's it. Shoot an email off, not my problem anymore. That kind of thing. Similar kind of thing with everything else. If I go and get a bike fit using this wonderful, intelligent, scientific computer and method, then it's
done.
It's done. Tick that box, on to the next one. So it's a case of outsourcing ownership and responsibility of your bike position.
For your body.
Of your body. Of your health.
Yeah.
Who gets it in the neck when you have used an AI bike fitting system? It's put you in a certain position, and then 5 years later you need a knee replacement or hip replacement or something because it's put you in a position.
Well, then you have to take ownership and responsibility, don't you?
Yeah.
Because it's bad intelligence.
It's artificial, but it's not necessarily good intelligence.
But to not be facetious for just 1 second of my existence, if that's kind of like, yeah, if you want to learn more about how your body interacts with a bike, then maybe a aggregated data approach to bike fit isn't the way to go.
Yeah.
And like, you have to be kind of at peace with the decisions that you make, right? So if you want to go and experience it, cool. Like, I'll be super interested to go and get a fit using this system.
I mean, I think we should go
to see where it
around
puts me.
to all the different places and get fitted.
But that's the thing. It's like, if
see
you
how
want
it
to take
compares.
ownership and have responsibility of your health, your bike position, your longevity in the sport, your enjoyment of the sport, then maybe you want to be asking some more questions.
Yeah. Well, we were talking earlier about the difference between experienced cyclists and inexperienced cyclists, as in not necessarily people who are good at cycling or bad at cycling, just how long you've been doing it.
I'm bad at cycling,
right?
but
But
I'm
you're an experienced cyclist
at being
right?
a bad cyclist.
Because you've been riding since you came out of the womb. So you've gone through that process whereby you've been a child, put on a bike that's way too big for you, grown into that bike, and eventually the bike's gotten too small. You've outgrown that bike, and then there's this lag. We talked about the lag of, because we're all poor. We all grew up on council estates, and at some point there's a bit of a delay, and then eventually you get a new bike. That's too big for you. You grow into that.
There's continuing
and
the cycle.
it's continued.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you've got this experience where growing up, you know what a bike that's too big feels like. You know what the ideal size feels like. You know what a bike that's too small feels like, and you understand how to move your body around to accommodate for those things.
And this isn't necessarily conscious.
No,
Your body just does it.
Your body just
because
does it,
you've got
right?
used to it.
you can tell easily when you see somebody on a bike whether they've been riding since they were a child or not.
But this is how you can be comfortable on multiple bikes, whether it's a mountain
exactly.
bike, a time trial bike, a road bike, a Brompton.
Exactly.
Maybe not a Brompton.
Maybe not Brompton.
But you know what I mean? It's like, so if you, it depends on what you want from your bike fit. If you just want to be put in a position, then that's cool.
But having that experience, like the problem is the people that these systems are aimed at are the inexperienced cyclists that aren't going to question what they've been given
because they don't have a frame of reference.
Because they don't have a frame of reference. So it's no fault of their own.
Yeah.
But they are by definition inexperienced at cycling.
Yeah.
So you can be, you could be a pro. You could be really strong. You could be super good. Like, you could win races. But if you haven't been if you came into cycling quite late, I'd still class you as a relatively inexperienced cyclist. So you can it's opening you up for injury and having problems
There's potential
later on.
pitfalls there.
Potential pitfalls,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Paul Chek describes, like maturity within, whatever discipline you have. And you can be, physically very old, but still like immature in your practice of cycling. If you just
that's maybe a better way of saying what I'm using the terms. I'm using the terms inexperienced and experienced, but maybe mature and immature are kind of like, well, it's kind of interchangeable, right? But it's the context of it.
Yeah. So maybe an immature, inexperienced cyclist would definitely benefit from a bike fit system, which gets them close to what might be ideal for them. But they just have to go out and do the practice and ride their bikes and not think that they're already in the perfect position and feel that there's room for...
It's a mindset. It's a mindset of practice rather than completion.
Rather than going back to what you were saying of, people basically giving over their responsibility for themselves to a system and saying, the computer said this was the best position, so it must be the best position.
But it feels rubbish.
So, what's wrong, your body or the computer?
My bum hurts.
You've never used it before. But it's science, so it must be good.
Is it science? Is it science?
What
kind of science is it, Matt?
Pseudoscience.
We don't want to go there.
We're going there.
Pseudoscience. Maybe that's it. Like all of, I don't know. Is AI bike fitting seen as science? It's like
the word science is used a lot in marketing, and particularly in
Our
bike
favourite
marketing,
subject,
right?
other than fashion.
Yeah, because people, and the thing is, a lot of people use it tongue in cheek as well, because they'll always say science, and they'll like do air quotes, and then they'll put some glasses on, they'll put a white lab coat on, and we're going to do science, and because they're making fun of the old
Backed by science.
backed by science. Oh God, and even sort of doing it, saying it in jest, is kind of damaging, I think, because a lot of people will just take it as read.
Yeah, I've got a
amazing
bone to pick here, because like the amount of people that come.
Good.
and go-
Where's
There we go. Oh, Way's on it now.
Here we go. Sit back.
The
Get
amount-
angry.
Strap in.
The amount of people that come in and then after the bike fit, and they're kind of like, well, I was expecting more lasers and more science.
More
I'm
science.
like, what do you mean? Like, well, more lasers and more like measuring and more like kind of angles and stuff. I'm like, well, what is science? And I think this is where people have got mistaken what science is. And science, for me, is a methodology. It's a method and a mindset. It's not lasers. It's not a thing. It's not a system.
Let me interject. It's not just for you. That is literally science. You are describing scientific method, right?
So
So what they're looking for is not science. What they're looking for is technology.
yes.
They want it to be
technology.
blinded by science, but more like blinded by technology. Like it's like going to a village in a time machine and kind of like lighting a match in front of somebody, and they're like, oh, wow.
Whoa.
Anyway, sorry, Karen.
But yeah, no, thanks for bringing me back from the brink there. But yeah, absolutely. I think science gets mixed up with technology. Science is a method, it's a way of thinking. And essentially that's what we do in our bike fits, is use the scientific method, which is have a hypothesis, test it out.
Do your best to disprove it.
Yeah,
basically.
Do your best to disprove it. Test as much as you possibly can. Come out with a result. Then go and test it again.
Yeah.
And see if you can replicate
Is it repeatable? Yeah.
Is it repeatable? And then just see what happens.
Yeah.
Does it continue? Do the good results continue? If not, you come back and you retest, but with knowledge and intent and experience and knowledge. And that is the scientific method. It is not.
It's not lasers
And motors and
things like that.
and Daleks and all that kind of stuff. So I would encourage everyone to go out there and do some science and be scientific with your bike fitting. That means testing in isolation, so testing one variable at a time.
Exactly, yeah.
Being objective. So not just going out there and just like moving everything around on your bike and being like, I don't know what I moved around, and I moved loads of stuff around, but it kind of feels better. I don't know. How do I go back to my previous position? How do I go back to the new position? You need to be rigorous and measured. There you go. About the process in which you go through.
Presumably, you guys have some kind of blog post or newsletter on how to measure your bike or something. Do you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
If you go on the second page on the Knowledge Hub on our website, right at the bottom, it's called How to Use Your Measurements. And there are two ways to use your measurements. One, if you have a laser, and the other, if you have a wall.
Okay.
Both work just as well. Both involve math.
Math. Do you mean maths?
Exactly. Well, I live with an American.
The plural of math.
Yeah, exactly. But like the way we're saying, you want to test and test and test, but you're looking for trends. Yeah, over time, not one-off events.
And like I completely understand people's rush to.
Yeah, we're all in a rush. We all need to slow down a bit.
And early on in my cycling journey, when I was trying to figure out what saddle to get or where lad. When I was trying to figure out which version of the Brooks saddle that was the only saddle available for bikes, I should where I should put it, and what saddle I should get and whatever, and what saddle height and everything.
So why'd you buy an Ariane?
No. It was on discount, man. It was on discount. It cost me nothing. Maybe someone gave it to me.
See, that was an emotional decision, not
exactly. And I do remember a little anecdote. As much as I'm not the biggest fan of Thompson seat posts, they are good. I just don't like the look of them that much. I had one and it was
Sacrilege.
I don't like the look of them.
What is
can I
this?
say? I don't know.
Get out of this podcast.
But no, what was good about them was you got the little nut-based Allen key and the one at the back, and you could I could literally be riding along and adjust my saddle angle with an Allen key, and I did do that. But that was cool because the thing that, again, we're going back to the being in a hurry and wanting to rush things, like that stopping, getting off your bike, fiddling with something, getting back on. It kind of like you forgot what it was like before. You forgot the A, B, and then you have to get off and put it back, and then you can, and that's the thing. This is why it's cool. You guys have the jig where somebody can be sitting there riding, and you can just come up and you can turn the knob, and you can change something, and the knob on the jig, and that was what was good about the Thompson seat post, And
because it was a good design and it had just 2 bolts.
Yeah, it's a very good design. I just don't like the look of it, right?
All seat posts should be designed like that.
They should. Yeah. They should.
But we can do another podcast on seat posts.
Yeah, and we will.
But the principle is testing with intent, spotting trends,
and being able to change one thing at a time,
and taking your time over it.
Yeah.
Having a hypothesis and doing your best to disprove it.
Yeah. Make notes.
If it's good enough for Isaac Newton, it's good enough for you.
And if you don't want to do all that testing, go through all that kind of...
if you don't want to spend 8 years of your life on
like
eBay buying different saddles.
Yeah. Basically, this is what we did for like years and years and years. And we've all become bike fitters because we don't want people to go through the same arduous process that we all did. And
you used to stop at the side of the road and fiddle with your cleats, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh god, I used to do that all the time.
Mate, I had such a bad rep for like being that guy. He's like, stop everyone, I need to fiddle around. No, just 1 millimeter.
I need to fiddle around in the bushes.
Not that kind of. Enough about butts. So yeah, I was that tinkerer all the time. But yeah, I didn't know any better. And really that all became much clearer when I actually had someone to help me get to that next level rather than trying to, figure it all out on my own and going in the wrong direction and then coming back again, doing all of that. And, if you want to tinker around, that's great. It's fun. But if...
just try not to strip your bolts.
Yeah. If you're in pain, something's not happy in your body, then come get some help.
Yeah. So I think in summary, it's like knowing what you're getting into with your bike fit, right?
Yeah.
And being aware of the potential limitations and asking yourself, what do I want out of this bike fit? What is the main driver that is resulting in you being in a bike fit studio?
Yeah.
Yeah. AI doesn't necessarily mean good bike fit.
Doesn't necessarily mean bad either.
No.
But it's probably more down to chance. So, it encourages you to take ownership and be in control of your bike fit.
Yeah.
I think we'll knock it on the head there.
Yeah, that's good.
Phew. Need a cup of tea now.
Yeah, let's put the kettle on.
Yeah. Good stuff.
let's
Till
do that.
next time. Thanks everyone for listening.
See ya.
If you have questions about today's episode, find us on Instagram and YouTube at SoftIssuesPod and leave us a message. If you liked what you heard today, please go ahead and give us a 5-star rating and review, as this helps us massively to grow the show. And the more we grow, the more we can help riders like yourself get even more out of their riding. So thanks for your support in advance. Suffering from numb hands, tingling toes, and any other persistent discomforts when you ride, these are all signs that your bike fit could be improved. If you are curious to find out, get in touch with Wei or Matt by emailing info@foundation.fit or finding us on Instagram at FDN_bikefit. Finally, for all your bike servicing needs, custom dream bike and wheel builds, get in touch with Ev, email him at workshop@frequencycycleworks.com or on Instagram at frequencycycleworks. Till next time, keep on spinning.